Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And we're continuing the Fast and Furious franchise because around this time of year it's all about family. And so this film is the 2015 movie Furious 7. Here is your trivia question for today. What does Luke Hobbs watch on TV while in the hospital? The answer will be at the end of this episode. So our film starts off sometime within the year of the events of the past film. We discover that Owen Shaw is still alive, although hospitalized and currently in a coma. We also see that Deckard Shaw, his brother, is now going to be out for revenge against anyone that was up against his brother. Deckard manages to sneak his way into the DSS, finding out all the information of where he can find Toretto and his family. He also happens to run into Luke Hobbs and actually ends up hospitalizing him. This then brings us to the events of Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, where we see that Shaw is the one that took out Han. He also remotely blows up the Toretto family home. Luckily, no one was inside at the time. It's around this time that Dom ends up meeting someone called Mr. Nobody, who's the head of a secret government organization. Mr. Nobody offers Dom the ability to find Shaw if he's willing to help him with something first. Mr. Nobody wants Dom to acquire a device called God's Eye for him. Apparently, this can be used to track anyone throughout the world with any type of device that has a camera. So Dom will have to do two things to accomplish this. Number one, save the person who actually created the God's Eye, named Ramsey. She is currently being held captive by a person named Mose Jakande. And secondly, he'll need to break into a billionaire's party in Abu Dhabi and steal a chip that is currently inside of a vehicle that this billionaire owns. So, of course, Dom brings the team back together to help accomplish these two tasks. So, will they be able to succeed? Or will Shaw or Jakande find them first? Originally, Justin Lin was going to continue being the director of the film series, as he had done the past four, but he was actually doing post production on number 6 when the studio wanted to accelerate the schedule on number 7, and this is why they brought in director James Wan. This movie was filmed in Colorado, California, Georgia, and Abu Dhabi. Although apparently the actual sequences that took place inside of the building in Abu Dhabi were actually filmed in California. At one point, they were toying with just calling it Fast and Furious 7, but since the sixth movie they wanted to call Furious 6, they decided to go with Furious 7 for this one. This was the first film that finally caught up to the events that occurred in Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Production on this film was actually halted, though, on December 1st, 2013, due to the tragic death of Paul Walker, who died in a car crash on November 30th of 2013. There were talks of scrapping the entire film out of respect, but they instead decided to do rewrites to address Walker's absence. Body doubles, stunt doubles, and even archival footage were used to complete the film. Caleb and Cody Walker, Paul's brothers, were some of the doubles and even did voiceover work for the character. Jason Statham actually had a brief cameo at the end of the sixth film. This is mainly due to the fact that he also tried out for the role of Owen Shaw in that movie, but since scheduling didn't work out, they decided that they were going to bring him back in as Deckard Shaw, Owen's brother. Ramsey, played by Nathalie Emmanuel, was a new character brought into the series on this film, although the role almost went to Pooja Hedge or Deepika Padukone. Mr. Nobody, played by Kurt Russell, is another new character introduced in this film. Now, the studio did not actually have any plans on the character actually being male or female at first. In fact, they just wanted it to be an actor that was well known enough and could just show up and disappear. So, some of the other people that were possibly up for this role were Denzel Washington, Taylor Lautner, Halle Berry, and Deepika Padukone. Jaimin Hansu also makes his first appearance in the Fast and Furious series as Mose Jakande. At one point during the fight between Hobbs and Shaw, Dwayne Johnson got to perform his old wrestling finisher called the Rock Bottom on Jason Statham. The majority of Johnson's stunts were actually performed by his stunt double and cousin, Tannoy Reed. Lucas Black makes a cameo in this film as Sean Boswell, bringing back his character from Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. Noel Guglielmi also makes a cameo in this film as his character of Hector, who appeared in the first Fast and Furious film. Ronda Rousey also makes a cameo in the film as the character of Kara, and she was actually also filming Expendables 3 while doing this film. Tony Jaa has a small role in this film as Kiet, This is also his first English speaking role in a film. Iggy Azalea also has a cameo in this film, and this is actually her feature film debut. Well known Bollywood actor Ali Fazal also appears in this film as the character Safar. T-Pain also has a cameo in the film as the DJ that's at the party in Abu Dhabi. There's no word on what character specifically, but apparently Jason Mantzoukas tried out for one of the roles of someone that appears in one of the Abu Dhabi scenes. This was Romeo Santos's feature film debut as the character Armando. He was very lucky though, as apparently he is one of the few characters that gets to say the word family in this movie. This is the first time since the first Fast and Furious movie that we've gone back to the event known as Race Wars. Over 230 cars were actually destroyed during the filming of this movie. During the parking garage fight between Dom and Shaw, there are some small references to the Transporter and Transporter 2 movies that Statham was in. You can actually see the BMW from Transporter and the Audi from Transporter 2. The Toyota Supra that Brian drives away in at the end of the film actually belonged to Paul Walker. The song that appears at the end credits, See You Again by Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth, was actually dedicated to Paul Walker. And now it's time for the family counter. In this film, the word family is said 9 times. Dom says it 4, Armando says it once, Mia says it once, Shaw says it once, Mr. Nobody says it once, and Letty says it once. So when it comes to the film Furious 7, this is definitely one of my more favorite ones in the series. I really enjoy the action sequences, I love almost all of the characters involved, and I feel in general, it's just one of the ones where they did a great job on pretty much everything. So I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, what does Luke Hobbs watch on TV while in the hospital? There are actually two correct answers for this one. So while Hobbs is healing up in the hospital, he's at least watching two things that we're aware of. One of which is a college football game. It is involving the University of Miami, and one of the commentators even references number 94. This was actual footage of Dwayne Johnson when he played for Miami and was the number 94. The other correct answer would have been the Incredible Hulk live action TV series that starred Lou Ferrigno. Also, random piece of trivia, did you know that the hospital that Hobbs is in is called Sacred Heart, which is the same name as the hospital from the television series Scrubs? I love the idea of the headcanon that both that TV series and these movies take place in the same universe. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews, and if there's a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments.